Hey everyone, my name is Sloth and I hope you're all doing well. We're back with another Arma weapon showcase and it's our first launcher, the FIM-92 Stinger. The Stinger is a man-portable air defense system, or man-pads. Seriously, that's the acronym for this thing. They really couldn't come up with anything better for it. Maybe something like I don't know, a DTAW, a dude triggered airplane wrecker or something. I don't know. Anyway, it was first manufactured by the US defense manufacturer Raytheon and now has been licensed out to other foreign companies. The Stinger in its most base form uses infrared homing, and without going into the science behind it too much, it's a heat-seeking missile. Vehicle engines and aircraft generate a ton of heat, so the Stinger is able to compare that heat with the surrounding area around its target and just home in on it. It's interesting to note how deadly heat-seeking projectiles are. Most United States air combat losses in the past couple of decades are due to these kinds of weapons. Even though they're not necessarily directly the Stinger, it certainly has contributed. Stingers aren't only used in the portable launcher form either. They can be mounted on Humvee Stinger racks, there's a helicopter version, and there's even tank and ship mounted versions as well. Stingers are not without pitfalls, however, and there are quite a few. They are susceptible to countermeasures, and the most effective ones of those are simply flares. These deploy out of an aircraft or a helicopter and they burn super hot, usually with magnesium or thermite mixtures, and they confuse the hell out of the Stinger, making it think that the flare is its target. This causes the missile to explode early and be basically harmless. These are not to be confused with chaff, which are countermeasures for missiles that use radar to get their target instead. Modern versions of the Stinger are better at detecting flares from their actual targets, but they're not perfect. And while we're on that subject of different versions of the Stinger, there are 11 different versions of this missile launcher floating around the Earth. Actually, probably more if you count the other man-pads based off of it. Man-pads. 11 versions is a bit much to go into, so I'll just understand that each version is an improvement in missile guidance, countermeasure detection, and making it able to detect drones and other types of missiles, and basically just making the thing more badass than it already is. And while we're in the stats, the Stinger is heavy. You've got to be a decently strong dude to lug this thing around. They usually operate them in two-man teams, and they typically weigh around 55 pounds or 24 kilograms. Also, the missiles are expensive and cost between $120,000 to $135,000. Basically, you could buy a slightly used Audi R8 or a small house or a Rolex, and you could almost afford these cute little white lion cubs for what you'd pay for one Stinger missile. Stingers travel around 1,000 miles per hour, and they're first propelled by a small motor that ejects the missile before the actual rocket part activates and blasts off. And this is so that the user is protected, and you'll see this if you ever watch any real life video of it being used. One thing a lot of you might be wondering too is what the hell that cage thing or that metal grating on the side of it is. And that's actually an IFF, or an Identify Friend or Foe system, that tells the launcher to emit a tone when you're sighting a friendly aircraft and a different one when you're sighting an enemy. And although the weapon can be used without it, you rarely see that because people don't want to be shooting up their friends. There's an interesting piece of history behind the Stinger too, and one that affects the modern battlefield in the wars that the US is currently engaged in. In the Cold War era 1980s, the Soviet Union was engaged in a war with Mujahideen fighters in Afghanistan. And there were a lot of reasons for that, but mainly the Russians just wanted communism in Afghanistan. The Islamic guerrilla fighters didn't want that, and guess who didn't want it also? The United States of America. US lobbying groups pressured the government into delivering hundreds of Stinger missiles and launchers to the Mujahideen fighters through the CIA. And it resulted in either a ton of Russian air losses, if you ask the Afghan fighters, or a little less than 100 helicopters and planes if you ask the Russians. The US tried to buy back all the launchers and missiles after the war was over, but not all of them quite made it back. It's a little ironic and kinda horrible that some of those ended up in the hands of insurgents and groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS and are currently being used against coalition forces today. One last thing, and this was so cool, I absolutely had to include it. There's no way around talking about the Stinger without talking about this. The US actually has a training facility called the Stinger Dome, in which There's a virtual environment where you can fire stingers at virtual targets in like 5 different environments. There was like a jungle one, an Arctic one, and this is presumably so you can save money on the, $120,000 missiles. I even found a website where you could go and purchase a man pad. I still can't get over that. Simulator, complete with projectors, displays, setups for different scenarios, everything. I couldn't find a price tag for this, but hey, let's just assume that we can probably not afford it. Anyways, without further ado, I'd like to show you a few clips of how effective and fun this weapon can be in Arma 3. I hope you enjoy the clips, and we'll see you in our next weapon showcase.
Record it?
Oh, I did record it.
Oh my god. What the sloth? What the fuck? Get owned, bitches. Wrecked. With the stingers it works?
It's 100K for the missile and the
Could it lock on? Or
yeah, it's locked on. Woo! How you do that? I think I hear it coming back. I do. Yeah, I see it. Ah, he flared it. Smart motherfucker. I got him. Yeah, I got him. I think he crashed it.
Isn't that what's it called? Oh no. In the beginning of the server, that was Blake's space. Because I lived on that island with him. And I terrorized him. And his fucking black high tower friend. fuck was that? Oh my god, what the fuck was that? Was that an assessment?
More pointed, south. Yeah, they're gonna avoid you completely.
They're gonna swerve at the last minute.
Actually, no, they are actually turning into you. They're turning straight into you.
Hear them.
They're gonna be going more north of you now.
Does that thing have countermeasures?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if they get an incoming missile signal though.
Oh, there he is.
He's talking.
I got a lot. Boom! Bits!
Rip.
We're gonna get to kill him too. Unless they don't eject.
He's
No,
just going straight through you.
he bleeds out. You bleed out. This dude right here parachuted though.
Dude, he broke the power line. What a legend.
That dude's gonna die.
800 meters.
He's gonna die.
Dirt road's 800.
Ah, he's alive. 850. 829. 862. To the ground.
Which way is he running?
I actually don't see him running.